All right, hello and welcome. Thank you guys for being here. I'm really excited for today's session. We're going to be helping you build out your 2024 digital marketing plan so that you can generate more leads, book more jobs, hit your revenue targets. But before we get into that, love to get to know you guys a little bit. This is going to be a very interactive session. What's the point of doing a live webinar like this if we can't interact with each other? So I'd love to ask if you could turn your webcams on, if you could find the little chat box. That way, if you've got questions, if you've got thoughts, if you've got feedback you want to share, me and my team can engage with you. And so we've got me, Christian, Rick, a number of our account managers on here. So we're going to make this a very interactive process today. Give me a 1 in the comments just so I can make sure you know how to get to the chat box. You know how to engage with me. 1 in the comments. Okay, cool. Eric, Matt, thanks for being here. So before we start talking about 2024, and I think it's really important that we do think about 2024 and we build a great plan and we kind of break it down and we build an action plan to go along with it. Love to hear from you guys. Like, how was 2023 for you? I put a poll up, so hopefully you guys all saw a poll pop up in your little dialogue box there. How was it? Not great. It's like, man, it was a frustrating year. On target, kind of like we did what we were shooting to do, or was it amazing? Like, you know, you set a goal, but you exceeded that goal, and it was just an amazing year. All right, great. It looks like you guys saw the poll. I got a bunch of responses coming in, a couple of not so greats. You know, and sometimes it's good to reflect on that. Sometimes you set a goal and it just doesn't happen, right? Maybe economic headwinds, maybe some technicians left. Things happen, right? But as you start to reflect on the year, you can really be conscious of, like, what do we need to do differently in the new year? Maybe we've got to get more aggressive with the marketing. Maybe we've got to get more aggressive with the recruiting and putting the right people in place. Maybe we got to dial in that sales process so we can improve the average ticket. So I've got about 45% of you say it was not great. So let's do everything we can to make sure that doesn't get repeated going into the new year. I got about 30% of you saying it was on target. So you had a goal, you hit the goal. I think that's something to celebrate, right? In today's environment, in you know, the economy the way that it is, if you can hit your targets, that's a slam dunk, something you should be proud of, and make sure you really get with your team and celebrate that progress. It looks like 21% of you said it was an amazing year. You exceeded your targets. I just want to say kudos to you. Fantastic work. Let's repeat that, right? Let's keep the pedal to the metal and make sure we can have another amazing year. Fantastic. Thanks for answering that poll. I'll just kind of drop the results so you guys can all see it. You can see they're kind of the averages. Would love to see more than 50% of you saying it was on target or exceeded target going into the new year. The other question I've got, and we teased this out a little bit prior to starting the session, but in order for me to get to know you guys a little bit, I'm going to drop a new poll in here. And this poll is going to be, what type of company you run? Are you plumbing, HVAC, electrical? Let me see if I can launch this poll. Stop share. And then let's launch what type of company you run. So just let me know, is it plumbing, HVAC, electrical, full service, maybe something different? I'll give you guys a couple seconds. This helps me get to know you. And ideally, if you guys, as you see the results, you get to get a sense of who else is on the call with us today on this workshop. So we can all work together. We can roll up our sleeves and make it an amazing use of this next 90 minutes or so. Really focused, really clear, really great execution going into the new year. All right, so we have 32% plumbing, 18% HVAC, 18% full service. And I think, more and more of you guys are doing full service. Once you're in the home, you're doing the plumbing, you're doing the HVAC, you're doing the electrical, which is great. And it seems like about 30% are somewhere in between. So good. Thank you guys for interacting with me. I'm going to try and use polls. I'm going to try and use chat so we can make this as engaging and interactive as possible. Here's the plan for today's session, and I'll be kind of showing my board here, and I'll be sharing my screen to make this as interactive as possible. But number one thing, I want to make sure that you've got clear goals and targets for the new year, right? And yes, I'm sure you've already set revenue targets and things like that, but I'm talking about specifically your marketing targets. How many leads are we going to need? Where are those leads going to come from? How much are we going to spend? How are we going to allocate that budget? I want to make sure you've got really clear plans and targets for the new year. I want to make sure we realign those to KPIs, key performance indicators. So if the goal is to now do 10 million next year or 5 million next year, what does that mean? How many leads do we need to generate? How many impressions are we shooting for? Where do we need those to come from? The clearer you are on what those KPIs are, the better you can align that budget. You can align the strategies to actually get those outcomes. And then we're going to map a plan, right? They say a goal without a plan is just a dream. And so I really want to arm you guys with the latest and greatest in what's happening in online marketing, what channels have changed, what channels are available to you, so that you can build a plan on the key things you're going to execute on to actually hit those goals and those targets. And so we'll be looking at the budget, we'll be looking at the various channels, we'll be looking at some important trends and things that have changed in the last year, in the last couple of years that you need to be aware of. And ultimately, my objective for you guys on today's session is to make sure you're set up for massive success in 2024 and beyond. So if we ask that poll, like, how was the year? You can all say it was amazing, right? And that you exceeded your targets, because that's what we're after. So let me know in the comments if this feels like a good plan for the day, if we can get through this and make this productive and you can walk away with a clear action plan. Will that feel good? Give me a 1 in the comments if this feels like a good, solid agenda for the day. Awesome. I'm seeing a thumbs up from Sean. So Sean, thanks for doing that. Lots of 1s in the comments. Thanks for interacting with me. So I do have a workbook, and I want to make sure you guys all know where this workbook is and that you know how to access it. This will help drive today's session. This isn't one where I'll be talking at you for an hour. I want it to be, we're going to talk, and then you're going to write things down. You're going to exercise. You're going to walk away with a clear plan. So if you could go to plumberseo.net/2024-plan. It might be hard to see on my screen, but in chat, Christian has already dropped it in there. What's going to happen when you open this up is it's going to ask you to make a copy on Google Docs, and then you'll have your own version. You'll have your own version that you can type stuff on, you can take notes in, and walk away with your plan built. So I want to give you guys a second to pull that up. It's important that you open the workbook and you have it open in a separate tab. Ideally, you've got me on Zoom and you've got another tab with your workbook there on the side. Give me a yes in comments if you were able to pull that up and make a copy. Well, I don't want to press forward too fast, but I just want to make sure you guys all got access. All right, cool. I'm seeing lots of yeses. If for some reason you don't access it or you've got some issue getting to it, please let us know in chat and reach out to Christian Ortega on here. He will make sure you've got access to it. Okay, so real quick, for those of you that don't know, I know we've got a bunch of plumbing, HVAC, electrical companies here. Some of you guys are already clients. Thank you so much for being here. We appreciate your business. We're excited about what we're going to do together in 2024. Some of you guys aren't clients. You're just here like kind of learning. You're like wanting to build this plan. Real quick, my name is Josh Nelson. I'm the founder of Plumbing and HVAC SEO. I'm the author of How to Triple Your Sales by Getting Your Internet Marketing Right. And I'm actively involved in a lot of the trade associations, PHCC, QSC, Nexstar, CO Warrior, Service Roundtable. But I'd say more important than any of that stuff is, at this point, I've had the opportunity to work with hundreds of plumbing, HVAC, and electrical contractors across the country, some of the most competitive markets, and been able to see many of those companies go from like not generating the results they want online to the point where they're now the dominant players in their market, generating hundreds and in some cases thousands of leads every single month directly from the internet. And so what I'm going to share with you guys isn't based on theory. It's based on real world, in the trenches experience, working with companies just like yours to grow their businesses, generate more leads, generate more sales, and crush their goals throughout the course of a year. Our mission as an organization here at Plumbing and HVAC SEO is to triple the sales of 1,000 plumbing, HVAC, electrical, and home service companies. And we've got a full team. And a lot of our team is on today, but we've got a team of people that this is what we do day in and day out, building the websites, writing the content, running the SEO strategies, building the links, running the campaigns, optimizing the results. And so if as you're listening to this and as you're building this plan, you're interested in talking with us about how we could work together, how we can help you implement these strategies, how we can help you generate better results online, we offer a complimentary one-on-one evaluation where we'll look at this plan with you. We'll help you see where you're doing well, where there's room for improvement. And so if you're interested in scheduling that, you just go to plumberseo.net/schedule. Christian also just dropped it into the chat. Pick a time that works for you. Clients, do this with your account managers, and we'll make sure you get the one-on-one attention and support that you need. So without further ado, let's get into it. Let's start to look at this plan. And when it comes to building your plan for the new year, I really believe that we've got to start with goals, right? if you don't have a clear goal and a clear target that you're shooting for, you're going to wind up somewhere, but it's probably not where you could have been, right? You want to be super intentional this time of year as you start to look towards the new year. And so I'm going to give you a little bit of an exercise on this, but I'm a big fan of Brian Tracy. I'm not sure how many of you guys are familiar with his work. Give me a one in the comments if you've either listened to an audio training or been to a seminar by Brian Tracy. He's a legend. And he's got a great training called the Ultimate Goal Setting Program. And it's like this 7-hour training on how to set goals and why goals are important. And I love the training, but I could boil down one insight from that really stuck with me. And that insight was they were interviewing these guys that were doing hundreds of millions of dollars in their business and asking, like, what is it that's made you so successful? What works for you? And one of them, the most successful one, said success is goals, all else is commentary, right? And really what that says to me is if you're not clear and your team isn't clear, like here's the goal, we're going to get to this amount of revenue, this amount of profit in the next year. If you're not clear, you're going to be busy. Your team's going to be busy, but oftentimes it's going to be busy in commentary, right? Oh, this truck broke down. This customer's unhappy. This technician just quit, right? And you get busy in commentary. And so you want to make sure you're laser focused on the goals and outcomes for the year. The analogy I like to think of it as is without clear goals and targets for the year, you're almost like a sailboat out at sea, right? There's no momentum. You're moving, but you're not necessarily moving as quickly or as expeditiously towards the targets that you want. You're going to wind up somewhere just probably not where you want as quickly as you want. And when you get really clear on goals and targets, you can almost create your own win. You can create your own momentum. Anytime I deal with a plumbing, HVAC, home service company that is kind of in a stuck point, maybe they got to $2 million or $3 million per year, and they just kind of keep repeating that and they're not able to get to the next level. Typically, it's because they stopped setting goals and taking massive action to get to those targets. And so that's where I want to start. And I'm going to go back to sharing my screen here for a sec. That way you guys can track along with me and we can make this as productive as possible. So let me share my screen and we can get right into this. Okay. Hopefully I shared the right tab. No, I didn't. Hold on. Okay. You should now be seeing my screen, and I want to pull up the worksheet that I had all of you guys open. It's the wrong thing. Hold on. Hang with me while I pull this up. All right. So ideally, you're seeing me, but you've also got your worksheet open in front of you. And what I want you to do is start with a snapshot. Kind of as we're going into this new year, write down where things sit on a typical monthly basis. How much revenue is the business producing? So that's what we're going to put first. And then I want you to also put in typical number of jobs run per month. And then some of the other important metrics, just kind of hitting this snapshot that you can save and reflect back on. What's your average transaction value? What's your average conversion rate at the home? And then how many trucks do you have currently? Just real quick, we're just capturing a snapshot at the end of 2023 going into the new year. And you guys can all do this in your worksheet. If you have any issue accessing the worksheet, or maybe if you logged in a little bit late, let's drop that link again one more time for anybody that might have logged in a little bit late. Excellent. So for those of you that are already in and you're already working on this, type for me in the chat, like what is the actual revenue you will have produced by the end of 2023, or what's the monthly average? Let me throw some numbers at me here in the chat. 250. Somebody on their iPhone wrote, is that 250,000 in revenue? Is that 250 jobs? Let's just throw in a revenue outcome for the year. All right, Matt, 150K a month, fantastic. Justin, 9.5 million, great job. Dan, 2 million, great year, awesome. 3 million, 800K says Mike, fantastic. Okay, so cool. Well, we're just taking a quick snapshot. This is easy stuff, looking back on 2023. I always think as you start to plan for the next year, you start to build out that new marketing strategy, what's the long-term vision? Like if you could cast out into the future a couple of years, 2025, how much revenue do you want the business to be producing? How much revenue? How many trucks? Just put that down. I just kind of indulge with me. Like I said, this is more of a working session today than a teaching session, especially here at the beginning. What's the goal? Like out in 5 years, what is the goal? What is the target? Put that in your worksheet. Mike 1.2, Fred 50 trucks. Amazing. And some of us think in terms of trucks, right? Because we're inspired by growing the trucks and adding more technicians. Some of us think in terms of revenue. Some of us might think, you know what? My goal is to get to 10 million, but really my goal is to have $3 million in net personal profit, right? Whatever it is for you, be sure you're clear on what that number is. 30 million says Justin, love it, thinking big. Couple of extra, like as you're filling it in the sheet, let me know what the goal is long-term, 2025. What are you trying to build? Drop it into the comments for me. So maybe people feel intimidated. They saw Justin drop 30 million. They don't want to put their number in, but it's okay. We are all on different journeys. We've all got different goals and outcomes. Matt shooting for 3.2 annually. Love it. Okay. Fantastic. So we got a couple of you to chat in here. We've got you guys all working on this in your worksheets. I want you to, just for a minute is why. So Justin wrote down 30 million. Matt wrote 3.2. Dan wants to go to 2.4 by then. Jamie wants to go to 5 million. That's great. We've all got a number. What's your why as you think about it, right? How will your life be different or better when you're at 30 million or when you're at 5 million? What's the why? What's the reason for you? Different for all of us, right? And I think the more connected you are with why you want to hit that outcome, the more likely you are to take the action, to do the work, to push through the obstacles you're going to hit. For some of us, it's to buy the house. It's to retire our spouse. Maybe it's to put our kids in the best school. Maybe it's to just create wealth. Maybe it's so that you can create more freedom in your life. What is it for you? And again, I'll get out of the big picture thinking. We'll get very practical here in a second. But I think it's good to take off your next 12 months hat for a little bit and kind of cast out into the future and think about what you're trying to build long term. Anybody willing to type into the chat like what your why is? What's your reason? How is your life going to be different or better to when you get to that? Like Derek as an example, 2.5 million to 3.5 million increase from 8 trucks to 10 trucks. Fred says freedom. Jamie's creating wealth. I love it. Mike's going to retire, right? So for some of us, maybe it's hand it off to the second generation. Maybe for some of it, it's to sell the business. And there's lots of acquisitions happening in this space. We've probably had a dozen of our clients get acquired, right? And so big windfall opportunities available for a lot of you guys to create wealth. Sell and retire, says Sean. Love it. Luke just wants to get out of the SBA loan. Fantastic. Okay, cool. So we spent a little bit of time thinking about the future and why that's important and how our life will be different and better. I think it's really important. Build and sell to a PE, says somebody from their iPhone. Excellent. Okay, so now let's get practical and tactical, right? We know where we are right now, ending 2023. What I want to do is build a plan for 2024. That's the purpose of today's session. And so as we think about that, I think what we want to do is break this down and we want to make it very, very practical. And so you could drop a number, just like, hey, end of 2024, I want to do this, right? But I'd rather be more specific with that number. So let's all open up this worksheet. And so in your workbook, there's a link to this worksheet that you can pull up. So I want you guys all to click that, make a copy. These worksheets have a lot of tabs, and there's going to be lots of little things we can use this for. But I want you guys all to pull this up. And when you click that link, it's going to ask you to make a copy, and it'll say Planning Worksheets 2024. Give me a 1 once you've got that open, just so I can know that you guys are tracking along with me. I promise you, once you've got this sheet open, it's going to make your life a lot easier. It'll be much easier to kind of map this out the way I want to do it for you. Okay, cool. Looks like a lot of you guys have it done. So I want you to write down what the annual revenue target is in that first box here. It says annual goal / target. What's the goal for you? Somebody put a number in for 2024. What's the goal? Like, how much revenue do you want to generate as a whole for the year? And make this realistic, right? I mean, based on the number of trucks you have and what you did last year, like, don't shoot like a crazy number. But somebody put in the comments for me what the goal is for this year coming up, 2024, just so I have a number to work off. Okay, 5 million. Let's just use that. So the goal is to get to 5 million. Let's break that down. Let's reverse engineer it. And all of you guys, I want you to put your actual number, but I'm going to put it in my sheet so you can track it, and then you can do it on your sheet and build it for yourself. So if you take 5 million and you divide that out over the next 12 months, this will just tell you the monthly target. In this particular case, it's $416,000 in revenue. So if we want to get to 5 million, I know that number will crest throughout the course of the year, but our target that we're going to shoot for is about $417,000 every single month. If we can hit that every month, we will be on target for that goal. Now, the next question is, what's your average ticket? So this is going to help you reverse engineer how many service calls you're going to need to run, how many in-house sales you're going to need in order to hit that target. So somebody tell me in the comments here, what's your average transaction value when you go into the home? What is it? Drop it in the comments for me. Dan is 656. The person that wrote 1.5 million, that's shooting for 5 million, what's your average ticket? Austin is 1,847. James is 1,847. Amazing. Sean's at 3,000 average ticket. Eric is 750. All right, so I'm going to grab something in between here. Let's use 900. So I want you guys all to put in what that average ticket is for you. Because if you know what your target is, you know what your average ticket is, it's very easy to try and then figure out how many service calls or how many in-home service calls you're going to need. So in this case, 5 million with an average of $900 per transaction, we're going to need 463 average monthly closed service calls in the home, right? So that gives us a very clear target to shoot for. We want to get to 5 million. That means we got to shoot for 416 per month. And then from there, we're going to need 463 closed jobs every single month if we're going to hit that target. Excellent. So we should all be clear now. What's the goal for the year? How many service calls we're going to need? Give me a 1 in the comments if that you've got that. 1 in the comments. I just want to make sure we're all tracking along. Fantastic. This is going to get more practical even more in a second. Write your number in. What was it for you? As you plugged in what your goal is and what your average transaction value is, how many service calls are you going to need per month in order to hit your target? Put the number. In this example, it was 463. What's it for you? I just want to make sure you guys have this number, because the clearer you are on that number, the better you can track to it. All right, Jamie has 57. Anybody else? This is drop your number in for me in the chat, please. Matt needs 356. James needs 533. Okay, great. You're tracking with me. Fantastic. Okay, so now, good to know, good to have an idea that we're shooting for. To build your marketing plan, what I don't want any of you to be doing is saying, okay, I want to grow by X amount this next year, so let's just spend more. Let's spend a little bit more on Google ads. Let's spend a little bit more on SEO. Let's spend a little bit more on local service ads. Somebody told me I should be doing TikTok, so let's throw some money at TikTok. And let's just spend money and hope that it generates a result. That's what I don't want, right? So that's why we're building a plan together as a group here today. That's why we're mapping this out. What I want you to be able to know with confidence is how many leads, qualified leads, do we need? How many phone calls, web submissions, how many leads do we need to generate, or how many do we need to be shooting for that we can build our marketing strategy around? So the next step here where it says step 2, number of leads required to hit your target, I want you to think about what your average conversion rate is from a lead to a closed job, right? It could be as little as 20%, could be as high as 75, 80%, depending upon how good your CSRs are, depending on how good your technicians are in the field. What's your average? Just type it for me into the chat so I can use this to help you build the example here. Average lead to sale ratio. Jamie's 20%. Okay, anybody else? 64% says Eric. Fantastic. Jose 50, Ken 25, Justin 36. Okay, so I'm seeing a range between 20 and 70%. I think let's use 50. 50% close ratio. So for this $5 million business example with an average transaction value of 900 and a 50% close ratio, we're going to need 926 leads per month, inbound inquiries on a monthly basis in order to hit our target. Knowing some of that's going to come from word of mouth. It's going to come from repeat clients. It's going to come maybe from Google Ads. It's going to come from LSA. But if we know like that's the target we're shooting for, now we can build a plan around it. So what I want you to do is just put that percentage in that box. And down here is going to give you the target that you're shooting for every month, right? Just reverse engineering. Fred, LSA's local service ads, it's Google guaranteed. I'll be talking about the different channels here in a minute. But right now, we're just trying to figure out what's the goal so that you can arrange your marketing strategy going into 2024. If we want to get to 5 million, we need to get 463 jobs, which means we're going to need 926 leads every month, right? That's what we need to shoot for. Less than that, we're going to have a struggle, right? We have to improve our close ratio. We have to improve our average ticket. But more than that, we should be on target. So I want to know in the comments, let me know what's the number, right? Based on the goal that you set, how many leads are you going to generate on a consistent basis to be on track for your goals? Let me know in the comments. Jamie needs 284. Very nice. Who else? This is kind of the point of the exercise, guys. So if you could put that number in, because the clearer you are on this number, the clearer you and your marketing team or whoever you work with, a company like ours, can help you build that plan. Okay, fantastic. Matt saying 646, Alexandria 298, James 970, Giselle needs 95. Okay, great. So now we're clear. Okay, this is the target, right? And this is the kind of the KPI from a marketing perspective that we're shooting for. Give me a yes in the comments if this is helpful. If you kind of breaking this down and setting some of these KPIs up is helpful. Luke says yes. Amber says yeah. Okay, cool, fantastic. I really appreciate that feedback. Now, in this same worksheet, you guys all have a copy of this. There's additional tabs that you'll be able to get into, and we'll probably get into some of this as we go throughout the session. But I just want you to know there's a tab for the budget allocation, which is to figure out if the goal is 5 million, how much are we going to reinvest back into the marketing, and how much should we reinvest back into the marketing to make that a reality? We've given you some of our benchmarks that we're seeing across our network of 200 or so plumbing, HVAC, electrical clients in terms of the average cost per lead. So you can reverse engineer based on an average cost per lead. What would it take to get those 970 leads or to get those, whatever that number is for you? And then we're going to talk at the end a little bit about the marketing calendar and how you want to prioritize your efforts as the seasons change throughout the year, so you can map this stuff out in advance and have this all thought through and all squared away. But the main thing I wanted to lead with, the main thing I wanted to make sure we all had was clarity on the goal for the year, clarity on how that breaks down by month, so we get a monthly target, and then what the KPI is, what that important metric is to hit the goal. So what I want you to do now is everybody toggle back. We're in worksheets. That was the Google sheet. I want you to come back to the Google Doc. And I just want you to grab those 3 key numbers that the sheet helped us figure out, which was how much revenue do we want to generate for the year? How many jobs will we need per month? And then how many leads do we need to generate, or how many leads should our marketing machine generate in order to make that a reality? Everybody just go back to the sheet and type that in. Give me a 1 in the comments if you got it typed into your sheet. Want to make sure we've got the goal, we've got the target, we've got this broken down, because we're about to get into the strategy and kind of building your plan to make that a reality. Okay, I'm seeing some ones. So hopefully you guys are tracking along with me. So like I said before, now we've got a goal. And kudos to you guys. The key thing you need is a goal that you're shooting for. And what I want you to do is make that clear to your team. Make that clear to your managers. Get everybody on board. That way everybody's striving towards that 2024 outcome, a certain amount of revenue. And if you want to get more specific with your coaches and with the consultants you work with, figure out what the profitability number is, because who cares if you did 10 million if there's no profitability there, right? Make sure you're going a level deeper for the sake of marketing, right? For the sake of what we're doing today, we need a clear revenue goal. We need an average lead generation target that we're shooting for. And so now what I want to do is I want to get into the plan, right? Because a goal without a plan is just a dream, right? So what's the plan? What are the tactical strategies we can put in place to hit that lead count as cost effectively as possible and make sure that we hit those goals and those targets that we're shooting for? I want to make sure I'm pinned, and I'm going to make sure I've stopped sharing my screen. Can you guys see me? I should be big on your screen now. You should be seeing my monitor. I saw a thumbs up there. Thank you very much. Okay, so this is what I call the accelerated growth model. And we've worked this out over the last decade, working with hundreds of plumbing, HVAC, home service companies. And really, in order to get accelerated growth and really maximize your lead flow online, there's 3 key things we need to do. Number 1 is we've got to drive leads, right? Yes, we've got to make sure we're driving leads in the form of phone calls, in the form of web submissions, in the form of online bookings, right? We need inquiries that are coming into our business on a consistent basis. Number 2 is we've got to maximize conversion. And I think if all you think about is driving leads, you're going to wind up spending a lot of money without getting the outcome that you're after. So we've got to make sure we've got a strategy to convert as many of those leads into book jobs, right? As many of those book jobs into repeat customers and referral customers. We've got to make sure we're maximizing the conversion, because leads in the absence of conversion is a big waste of money. And then number 3 is we've got to optimize results. We're going to figure out, okay, so what's working best based on what we're doing to generate leads to get our cost per lead down, to maximize our return on investment. And when you dial these 3 things in, you can truly have accelerated growth within your plumbing, HVAC, electrical, home service business. So when it comes to driving leads, there's really 3 key lead generation strategies that work really well from an online marketing perspective. The first is organic, right? Making sure we're coming up in the places that our customers are looking. And a lot of this is just, it's putting out good content. It's being in the places where your customers are looking. And 80-20 principle here, from an organic perspective, that's going to be hard to see. We want to make sure a couple of things. We want to make sure we've got pages for each of our services. We've got pages for each of the cities that we operate in. And we're properly optimizing the website. We're properly optimizing our Google Map listing. We're creating content on a consistent basis. We're building links. And I could talk for a whole day on SEO strategy, and that's not the purpose of today's session. But really, I just want you guys to be thinking about, are you showing up in the non-paid results where your customers are looking, right? And there's a place for paid, but right now we're talking specifically about the organic side of the equation. And so when I say organic, I mean, if we were to type in your city plus your service, your city plumber, your city plumbing, your city AC repair, your city electrician, are you coming up in the map, in the organic listings? Do your directory listings show up? This is important to know, and it's important to focus on. Can't see the screen. Okay, Fred, I'm going to switch back to sharing my screen in just a minute. You should be able to see this. So this is an example of one of the companies we work with, the Meridian Advantage, based in East Lansing, Michigan. They rank very well in the non-paid listings for pretty much all the keywords that we found to be super important. And we track the metrics very, very closely. We need to know, like, how much are we spending? How many leads are we generating? what's our average cost per lead? And so in their case, we spend about $8,000 per month, an average of 417 leads tracked, an average of $19.32 per lead, 95 from organic, 127 from PPC, 137 from Google Maps. And I pull up this example specifically because a lion's share of the deal flow is coming directly from organic. Right? As we think about our plan going into the new year and like where should we spend our dollars, what should we focus on? There's a lot of shiny new objects, right? There's TikTok and there's Facebook and there's YouTube and there's all of these different things you can tap into. But the reality is non-paid organic traffic is still one of the highest quality sources of traffic you can tap into. And in the case of Meridian, if we weren't showing up organically, if we didn't have access to those non-paid listings, we would be missing out on a lion's share of the deal flow and a lion's share of the traffic. So that's the first right there is organic. We want to make sure we've got a great SEO strategy. We're showing up in the places where our clients, our customers are looking. Number two is we want to tap into paid search. And so there's lots of different things that come into play when it comes to paid search. This is, again, hard to see. Let me see if I can rearrange my screen here a little bit. But the way I see it is going into 2024, you want to make sure your organic foundation is strong. You've got a good website. It ranks in the non-paid listings. You're coming up in the maps in your area, and your directories are also ranking. So your Yelp listing, your Angie listing, your house, like these types of listings are coming up. So you're getting as much traffic as you can. And you want that foundation to be super strong so you can layer paid search on top of it, right? A lot of times, as I talk with plumbing, HVAC, home service companies, they've been sold it's just about paid, right? You just want to do LSA, local service ads. You just want to do Google ads. Don't worry about the organic stuff. And their cost per lead is really high. It's hard for them to kind of accelerate their growth. And it's because they don't have that foundation, that organic foundation that is kind of critical as you grow and as you scale. Now, you want to have paid sources as well, because paid sources, you can just turn the knob. You can generate more lead flow almost instantaneously, and you can accelerate. You can have a lot more traffic than you'd have if all you were relying on was organic. And so my favorite paid source for you guys going into 2024, believe it or not, is still Google Ads and local service ads, because directionally, it's still the highest intent prospect, right? You're a customer that is searching for you on Google, and either clicking a local service ad or clicking a paid listing is in the buying mode. Like they're looking to make a buying decision right now. And so I would prioritize, as we get into where you're going to spend your dollars and where you're going to invest your budget, I would prioritize a lot of that towards those paid sources. Now, in addition to that, you want to be tapping into some of the paid online directories. In certain markets, Yelp comes up above most of the organic listings, and a lot of customers go to Yelp. And I know a lot of us hate Yelp, but if in your market, the first thing that's coming up is Yelp, there's probably a case to be said, let's spend some money on Yelp. Let's show up in that directory. Let's optimize that listing. Let's build up some reviews and some reputation, and we can drive quality lead flow from there. Paid directories also include things like House and Nextdoor and those types of directories you want to be playing in as well. And then some of the paid per lead services like Home Advisor and Angie and things like that. I have this a little bit higher up the hierarchy because the lead quality from those paid sources aren't nearly as good as directly from Google, but there's a lot of opportunity there. And if you put the right automation in place, which we'll be talking about in a minute, you can capitalize on some of those paid per lead sources to generate sales. Now, at the very top of this triangle, I've got social ads. So that's Facebook ads, TikTok ads, YouTube ads. And it's at the top because I don't think all of us necessarily have the budget to like really utilize that in a way that makes sense, right? If your entire budget could be used up with local search ads and organic, that's going to be a much better use of your money than also throwing money at Facebook. Because remember, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, they're not looking for you at that moment, right? There just happen to be a homeowner in your service area that may or may not need you, and it's a branding play. So if you're already doing branding, you're doing radio ads, you're doing billboards ads, you've got a large budget, you want to be the dominant player in your market, that's where these social ads make a lot of sense, because your cost per 1,000 impressions would be less than other directors like brand advertising type of mediums. So I would prioritize down here the bottom of the triangle for those of you that can see it. And as you go from, let's say 10 million and you're looking to go to 20, 30 million, that's where you want to get more aggressive with the social ads and things like that. Now, as it relates to any of your strategies, there's a paid component that you should all be tapping into, and that's retargeting and automation, right? If you're paying someone to do SEO for you and you're coming up organically, especially if you're paying on a per-click basis through Google Ads and you don't have retargeting running, which is basically just pixeling those people that got to your website or to your landing page and then serving banner ads to them so they see you when they're still in the buying phase, you're leaving money on the table. And so I think as you start to get through paid search and getting into paid directories, you definitely need to be using retargeting automation, which I'll be talking about here more in just a minute. So I know a lot of pay-per-click campaigns fail, right? A lot of you guys have done paid search over the years. Maybe you did it on your own. Maybe you hired somebody. Maybe you used like Reach Local or Scorpion or one of these guys, and you just didn't get great results. The cost per lead was too high. There was no scalability to it. I think there's a lot of reasons that pay-per-click campaigns fail, but predominantly it's because we're not breaking the campaign down in a finite enough level so that we get high relevance, so we get high conversion. And I don't want to bore you with the details, but a lot of companies that don't understand home services think, well, plumbing is plumbing, right? And so they'll bid on all the plumbing keywords and drive traffic straight to your homepage, or drive traffic to a landing page, but it's an all-purpose landing page. And what we know, because we're specialists in this industry, is that if someone types in drain cleaning or trenchless sewer repair or emergency plumber, they're thinking about something completely different. And so we want to have specific ad groups for those specific search terms that go to a specific page on your website. And so there's ways that you can improve your relevancy, which also improves your conversion and reduces your average cost per click, ultimately reduces your average cost per lead. And I just want to show you, you can get great return on investment and great results with paid search when it's done correctly, when it's properly optimized, and when all the right strategies are in play. Again, I'm giving you guys the 80-20 of the 80-20 on today's session with the strategy, but you want to be tapping into paid search. And so this is Cardinal, or a company we work with. You can see here just in Google Ads, $9,000 spend. We track 224 leads. Hopefully you can see that. Average cost per lead of $40.23. This is HVAC and plumbing specifically. If you do the math on this, 224 leads at a 40% conversion ratio means we've got 90 booked jobs, average ticket of $750. That's $67,000 in revenue on a $9,000 spend. That's a 7.5 time return on investment, right? And when you do this right, you can absolutely get a great return on investment from paid search. So we've talked about organic, we've talked about paid. The next, and I think probably biggest opportunity for most of you going into 2024 is database marketing. You guys all have customers and you have prospects that inquire, like they call in or they submit a request or they start a chat. And what I find is most of you don't have a strategy to re-engage those past customers, to get that one-time customer to use you again or to refer you to somebody else. And so going into 2024, I think a big opportunity for all of us is to be a little bit more aggressive with database marketing to those past customers, marketing to those one-time customers via email and especially SMS messaging to get back into the home, to get more repeat and referral business. And so this actually works really, really well. It's been a common practice in digital marketing, but it's only been in the last couple of years where it's become more common within home services, within plumbing and HVAC. And really what we're saying is, think about all those past customers, whether they're on a performance plan with you or not, and make them an offer. On a quarterly cycle, you can reach back out, make them an offer, and get back into the home. And so, yes, you can use email for this, but what we found is email open rates and response rate for home services is extremely low. Like, I still believe you want to send a newsletter out, and that's fine. I still think you can make an offer via email, but when you can make an offer to a past customer via text message, that gets responses and it gets great results. Be careful with it. Don't overdo it because your customers will get mad if you text them too often. But just as an example here, so hey, John, this is Alice with Bob's HVAC. With fall here, you want to be sure your home is protected from the cold. As your trusted HVAC professionals, we're running a limited special for $500 off a new HVAC install. Simply apply yes, and we'll send you a coupon with all the details. Right? If you send a message like that, and we call this a spear because it's simple, personal, and expecting response, you're going to get some replies. Yeah, sure. Send me the details. Yeah, sounds great. And what's cool is with automation, we can capture the positive intent response and say, awesome, here's the details. Let's go ahead and schedule a time. And if you've got marketing automation in place and you're using House Call Pro or Service Titan and you've got online scheduling, you can take them straight to the scheduling page where they can schedule their time. And then your dispatcher is calling to follow up with someone that's already selected a time tentatively in your schedule. This works really well. Just as an example, one of the companies we work with is 72 Degrees. And you can see here, we had a list of about 5,000 of their past inquiries, past customers. Over the span of time, we didn't drop all 5,000, but over a span of time of kind of weekly dropping these text messages, we had 300 replies, 119 booked jobs, 24 jobs completed, and over $84,000 in booked revenue just by effectively marketing to the database. This is, in a lot of cases, it is free money, right? It's because these are customers that you're not doing anything with. And if we can strategically market to them and we can build a system around this, we can create, instead of $75, $85 cost per lead, we're generating $5 and less cost per lead just marketing to our existing database. Give me a one of the comments if this feels like an opportunity, something you might be able to tap into going into 2024 to hit those revenue targets, right? Just be a little smarter with how we market to the existing customer base. Love it. Okay, cool. So I don't want to just talk at you guys this whole time. We've talked about how we drive leads, organic, paid, and database. I put a traffic light up here, which means I just want you to think, if you were to rate yourself in each of these three categories going into 2024, are you red, which means you're not doing it or you're doing it poorly and there's room for improvement? Are you yellow? And it's like, hey, we do it, but, I think it could be better. I think it could be improved. Or are you green? Right? Hey, we're crushing it. We rank for all the keywords. We're running paid search. And so when it comes to organic, rate yourself. When it comes to paid, rate yourself. When it comes to database, rate yourself. And I want you to circle one that you can say, hey, look, this is something we need to get more aggressive with going into 2024. So I'm going to pause for a minute to give you guys a second to digest this information. And more importantly, to have some awareness about what you need to focus on and where the opportunity might be to tap into some accelerated opportunity. And as you're rating yourself, let me know in the comments. What is it for you? Fred's got yellow on SEO. So maybe some keywords aren't ranking the way they should. Maybe we get more aggressive with our links and our citations. Maybe we can get more aggressive with our content strategy and create more of those pages in and around our service area. Let me know in the comments, guys, just so I know that you're tracking, but also you're taking some actionable insights, and then also that I can kind of keep going forward. Jamie, SEO red, right? Not ranking, apparently. That's a great opportunity, right? That's your lowest cost, highest leverage opportunity. PPC's green, map green, SEO red. Okay, Luke, good opportunity there on the paid search. Fred, paid search. Ken, need more content. Awesome, cool. Thanks for engaging. Good. The key thing is I want you to be thinking about the strategy for 2024, and I want you to be self-assessing as we go. So this isn't just a regurgitation of information, but you walk away with some insights that you're going to go back and do something with. So we're going to generate leads, but in tandem to that, we got to make sure that we maximize the conversion of the leads that we do get, of the traffic that we do get. And so there's three key things from a conversion perspective we need to focus on. Number one is your website, right? Your visitors, your potential customers will wind up on your website at some point before they call. Whether they clicked on an organic result, whether they clicked on a paid search, whether they saw one of your trucks, typically they're going to look at your website and they're going to see, like, is this the kind of company I want to do business with? Are they trustworthy? And if your website isn't built to convert, if it doesn't have the conversion elements that we know will improve conversion, it will draw down the effectiveness of all of the rest of the marketing that you do. And so I've got a long list of things you can do on your website to improve conversion. Again, I've got a full hour-and-a-half training on the different things you want to do in order to improve conversion rates on your website. I'm going to hit the 80-20, and maybe some things come up for you that's like, hey, I need to make some tweaks to the website. I need to make some adjustments. And I just want to show you, like, when you do this right, you can get a 30 to 40% conversion from visitor to lead on your website. So one of the examples, one of the companies we worked with for a long time over the years is Valley Plumbing. It's a great example of a website to look at. But oftentimes what we're focused on is personality. So you see the real people behind the business, the authentic organization. That makes a big difference. Having a phone number in the top right-hand corner, having an online scheduling option where they can pick a time. Today's customer has moved drastically towards not wanting to talk to you, right? If they have the opportunity, they'd rather text in, or they'd love to just book it, right? They'd love to just be able to schedule it. In the past, if you wanted to get a taxi cab, you take out your phone, you talk to the dispatch lady, she'd say, okay, you got a taxi cab coming Thursday at 3. And that there was a whole industry around that. In today's environment, you have an app. Either it's Uber or it's Lyft, and you say, I want someone to get me. You don't talk to anybody. The person shows up, and it's done. And your customers being more and more conditioned to expect that. And so the contractors that get ahead of online scheduling, that figure this out, are going to be the preferred provider. And so if you're not already using some type of online scheduling widget where they can pick a time and feel confident that your technician is going to show up, you're missing out on a pretty big opportunity. And then make sure you've got a chat option available on your site where somebody can have a two-way dialogue, and ideally make that chat widget text message enabled, right? Yes, they can chat with you on their website, and that's one way to do it, but we all have cell phones. We're all used to text messaging. So you want to have a text enabled on your site. So just as an example here, 9,500 spend, 551 leads generated, average of $18.81 per lead. You can see it comes from a variety of different channels. But really what I want you to see is we track, and we were like fanatical with this because we know that if we can get better conversions on the website from visitor to an actual lead and or a booked job, then all of the rest of our marketing is so much more effective. And so we track like how many visitors got to the website, how long did they stay, what percentage of them bounced, but more importantly, what percentage of them converted in either to a web form, a live chat, or a phone call into the business. You can see 3,300 visits, 35% conversion rate. That's a beautiful number. Another company we work with, Nixco Plumbing, down in the Mason, Ohio market, $5,879 spend, 535 leads tracked, $10.99 on average. And we can see 1,000 visitors with a 38% conversion from visitor to caller. So very specific things you can do on the website that will improve the probability that somebody's going to convert into a lead when they get there. I think this is mission critical going into 2024. As we're building the plan, as we're building the strategy, make sure your website is built to convert. So what does that mean? Authentic imagery. Look at your website right now. Is it a picture of a family that's smiling? Is it a picture of like a random plumber holding a wrench? Or is it a picture of you, the owner in the business, and your team? People want to do business with people they know, like, and trust. And so if you can infuse that authenticity into your website, it has a big impact on conversion, right? So personality, authenticity, don't let that miss you. Multimedia, right? Does everybody want to watch a video on your site? No. Are there certain technical buyers that will sit on your website and watch videos and get answers to their questions? Absolutely. And so with technology being the way that it is, we've all got phones that have really good cameras on them. No reason you can't record a video welcoming people to your website, explaining who you are and what you do and why people choose you versus the competition, and asking them to call if you can help them in any way. If you did that, you are going to get better conversions on your website. And really what I encourage is have a website welcome one, have one for your drain page, for your water heater page, for every one of the pages on your site. And don't feel like it has to be super high tech. You could pay a film crew to come do it, or you could hold your webcam, hold your camera and just get it done. Showcase your reviews. Lots of great widgets for this, but people want to also know that you're a quality provider that people have done business with and had great results. Showcase your reviews on your website. Have online scheduling available. Service Titan, Schedule Engine, House Call Pro. All of these now have options where people can pick a time, whether that's actually dispatched or whether it just gets earmarked in the calendar and your team calls. Don't get hung up on that. I think a lot of the contractors we work with say, yeah, I don't want to do online scheduling because they might pick a time that we can't actually get somebody there. Give me a 1 if that's you right now. Maybe you're like, oh, I don't want to do the online schedule thing because people are going to get annoyed that we can't actually facilitate the time they picked. All right, I'm seeing some 1s. Ideally, make it so that you can facilitate and have your calendar synced so that it's available. But even if you don't, think about your customer, right? Your customer has a problem. Like plumbing's not working, drain's not working, water heater's broken, AC isn't blowing cold, whatever it is. They're busy. They've got a lot of things going on. What they really want is this done, right? They want to know that it's scheduled, somebody's coming, and they don't have to worry about it, and they can move on with their day, right? Recognize that's your customer. That's the mind frame they're coming from. And so if your website only has a phone call option and a text option, and they call the office and they can't schedule it right then, they hang up, they go to the next website. And that website has like a text box where they can enter a request and say, my name is this is my problem, hit submit. Until they've got it scheduled somewhere, they're on the hunt, right? They just want this off their to-do list. And so if you give them the option where they can pick a calendar and set a time and date and just make it clear, look, we're not 100% booking this time. Our team's going to call and confirm. Because they put a time and a date into that system and hit submit, in their mind, they've scheduled it, and now they don't have to continue hunting, right? They're not going to go to 6 other companies and schedule with 6 other companies. So by having that option where they can book directly on the website, yes, they're going to check it off their list, move on. It also helps your team prioritize. This is someone that thinks they're scheduled for Tuesday at 2. Hey, just wanted to reach out. See, you're scheduled for Tuesday at 2. Turns out we got somebody, already there. We can get somebody there, Tuesday at 4 instead. Does that work for you? Great, right? Give me a yes if that makes sense. If that kind of cognitively, don't get hung up on whether it's actually scheduled. You're earmarking this for them and giving them the opportunity to take it off their plate. Awesome. So make sure you've got that online booking available in your website. Have a web form where they can submit the details. Have the phone number available because there are people that would prefer to call. I'm not saying everybody's going to text in or schedule directly online. Put these things in the right place. Tell them what to do next. Have a 2-way text option where they can text message with you. We find this is one of the most preferred ways that your customers will engage with you in 2024 and beyond. Either they're going to book it directly on their site, or if they have an option to text with you instead of scheduling with you, that's what they want to do. So just take my word for it on that. So that's your website. You want to make sure it's built to convert. That will massively impact how well all of the other lead generation that you do works. Number 2 is your reputation, right? If you don't have any reviews, or if the average sentiment on your reviews on Google, on Angie, on Yelp is negative, that's going to harm your conversion rate because your customer, again, if we think about that customer and the way they shop, the way they think, they search around, maybe they go to Angie, maybe they go to Google, maybe they saw your truck and they're like, hey, you know what? Bob's Plumbing seems pretty good. But before they book, what's one thing they're inevitably going to do? Someone type it in the comments for me. What they're inevitably going to do is go back to Google and they're going to search Bob's Plumbing reviews. And they're going to want to see, that's right, Dan, they're going to want to see how many reviews does Bob's Plumbing have? Are the people happy with him? They're going to look at that. And so if you get a negative reputation right before they book, some people don't do that due diligence, but most of them do. If you don't have enough reviews, if we don't have positive reviews, it's going to impact. No matter how good your marketing is, it's going to bring that down. It's going to make your average cost per lead higher. It's going to make it harder to scale. So obviously, we want to create a world-class experience, right? We want to do all the right things. We're going to answer and have the service and show up and put the booties on and create a class experience. We also want to leverage automation so that after every service call, a review request goes out, right? We want to make sure we're building those reviews on a consistent basis. lots of great tools: Review Buzz, PulseM, Conversion Amp, Customer Lobby. I don't care what you use. I just want to make sure you have a process in place where review request is going out after every service call, ideally with a direct link to the place where they can write the review, ideally sent via text message. And there's something that we've seen really exponentially increase the amount of reviews and consistency of reviews that our clients get that I want you guys all to think about going into 2024. And that's making sure that your review request is integrated with whatever your dispatch platform is. Because in the past, as we've tried to help our clients generate reviews, we've used various tools that require the technician to send a text message or require the technician to check in on an app. And that works to a certain level, but there's human error. There's, oh, the tech's busy, he's not going to do that right now. So what we want to do, and what we found really massively increase the amount of reviews we're getting, is integrating so that once the job is closed in ServiceTitan or in House Call Pro or whatever platform it is, an email and a text message go out immediately after the service call. And if you can eliminate the friction of somebody having to take an extra step, more people get the review request, more people go post a review. So this technology exists with ServiceTitan and House Call Pro where you click a button and it just happens, right? And nobody on your team has to remember to do it. And so great example of this is the Plumbing Nerds in Bonita Springs. You can see here, relatively new business over the last 6 years, over 1,200 reviews, right? And an average sentiment of 4.8. If you've got lots of reviews like that, you seem like a trusted provider, right? And it's not just the automation helps. It's also creating a great experience. It's also building reviews into the culture of the business, right? You're training your technicians. You need to create an experience. And you're going to get recognized in our team meetings for getting reviews. You're going to get called out. If you can do that and you can bake it into the experience, it will have a big impact. So this is the Plumbing Nerds here. You can see $21,000 in online spend, 884 leads generated on a monthly basis, $25.30 per lead. The reviews and your online reputation has a big impact on how well you convert and what that average cost per lead is. So got to have a great website that's built to convert. We got to make sure we're building a reputation so that when the customer does decide they're going to do business with you, they don't have a stop point and they go somewhere else. Number three, and I think probably the biggest opportunity in this call going into 2024 is leveraging automation, right? And I think this is a huge opportunity. So if you've kind of checked out with me to this point, come back to the screen, kind of turn on your thinking cap because this is a big opportunity for you. Like we've talked about throughout the course of this session, there's lots of ways to generate leads. And there's like just a massive demand for these services, plumbing, HVAC, electrical. We can get leads with SEO, with Google ads, with billboard ads, with our trucks because people know, like, and trust us, right? There's lots of leads. And I don't think lead flow tends to be the problem. As I talk with a lot of home service companies, I think the bigger problem is converting leads, right? And actually having unconverted opportunities. What I see is something like 50 to 60% of inbound leads leave unconverted. And 90% of web forms fail to convert, right? Even people that were interested in your service area, they don't convert, either because you didn't answer, because you didn't follow up quick enough with web forms, because you didn't follow up at all. Like a lot of times I find these web forms don't ever get followed up with. And here's why. What we know is that leads that don't get followed up with in 15 minutes or less go cold, right? Your customer is jumping to the next site. They're going to the next thing. And so if they submit the web form or if they call in and they don't book it in 15 minutes or less, they're going somewhere else. The average customer needs to follow up with 5 to 7 times before booking. So that customer that calls into the office and says, hey, I'm thinking about changing out the water heater. And you say, okay, let me schedule a time for Thursday at 3, and this is our dispatch fee. And they say, oh, you know what? Let me check around. I'll get back to you. If you don't have a process to follow up with that prospect, they're gonna go somewhere else, right? Because somebody else is. And so we want to touch them more and more. And the biggest is that today's customer would prefer to engage via text message than phone or email, right? And most of us aren't tapping into two-way text messaging. We're not texting with our clients. We're just trying to use the phone as our single channel of communication. And so the solution exists, right? This technology is here. This isn't theoretical. It's not like, hey, we should use this at some point. It is here where we can leverage automation to follow up with web forms in 2 minutes or less. Like literally a web form comes in 2 minutes or less. They get a call, they get a text message, and they get an email. And we could put automation in place where we touch every prospect 5 times after they've inquired but didn't convert. We touch them via email, via text message, via phone. And if you had to do that all manually, or you had to have somebody in the office doing that, it would be cost prohibitive. Like nobody has that kind of bandwidth in their sales team. But with automation, we can make sure this stuff happens, and it happens very consistently and well. And so I've got a great visual of our Conversion Amp platform and kind of how we do this in Conversion Amp. I'm not going to bore you with all the details, but fact is, somebody goes to your website and they start a chat, automation follows up. They fill out a form, automation follows up, that it sends them a text message, shoots them an email, connects them with somebody in your office via two-way automation. And then based on the outcome of that call, they continue to get touched in a non-obtrusive way. Hey, did you get that scheduled? Hey, do you need some more help with that? Hey, notice you hadn't scheduled yet. Is everything okay? Until they do schedule in. And when they give a positive intent, which is like, hey, actually, I haven't yet, I'd like to schedule it, bam, we take them straight to our online booking where they can schedule in that time and tentatively schedule on our calendars. How many of you think if you followed up with your leads quickly and over time via phone, SMS, and text message, you can convert more jobs? Just give me a yes in the comments if you think you can convert more of your jobs if you followed up quicker, right? And if you followed through a little bit more, 100%. So 2024, if you're not using automation, do it, right? Get on this train. There's a link here, conversionamp.com. You can pick a time and see a walkthrough of how this works. Even if all you did was say, hey, I want help with marketing automation, Conversion Amp is our system that we can plug in with pre-built campaigns for you to convert. Christian or Rick, if you could drop the link to Conversion Amp, that would be fantastic. Okay, so when it comes to conversion optimization, right, generating more of the leads into book jobs, generating more of the leads into sales, is your website? Is there something we need to do on the website? How would you rate yourself? Is that green, or is that maybe yellow? Maybe there's no personality, no authenticity, no multimedia. You're not showcasing your reviews. On the reputation side, do we have a system in place where a request for reviews going out after every service call? We're creating that world-class experience. Is that green, yellow, or red? And then are you leveraging automation? Do you have that automation in place? If not, maybe that's red. That's the big opportunity. So I'm just going to pause for a minute. Again, I want you guys to be walking away with key insights and actions as you go into 2024. What's the opportunity for you here on the conversion side? Put that into your workbook. Circle the one that's the big priority. And if anybody's so bold, type it in the comments. What is it for you? Type me in the comments. Out of these three, what's the big opportunity going into 2024? What's the thing you need to put in play that's going to give you a competitive advantage? Website, you got to dial in the website. Amber says automation, Matt says automation, Dan says automation. Excellent. And maybe it's a little bit of everything. Like the yellows, there's probably some opportunity, right? But if we don't have that automation purring, that's a big opportunity. Maybe it's just the scheduling, right? Okay, so we're going to drive leads. We've talked about the key things we need to do there. We're going to maximize conversion. We've talked about the key things we need to do there. The next thing is we've got to optimize results, right? Which is, as you're spending money on your marketing, we got to figure out what's working so that we can double down on the things that actually generate the best results. And so 3 things on optimizing results. Number 1 is you have to think about what your total spend is, right? Are you spending enough? Now, as I talk with plumbing, HVAC, home service companies, oftentimes they say, oh, I grew to $1.5 million over the last 5 years or whatever the period time is. And, I'm not growing the way that I should. Okay, cool. How much are you spending in your marketing, right? What's the marketing budget look like today? Like, oh, we spend like, $2,500 a month. We signed up with XYZ service way back in the day, and that's the spend. And it's like, okay. And you want to get to 5 million, you want to get to 6 million. Are you increasing your spend, right? I know that the statistics tell us 5 to 6% reinvested from revenue back into marketing is just like attrition. It's just to stay where you're at. If you want to grow, you need to be spending north of 10% back into marketing. So if you're doing $1 million, you're looking at $100,000 in marketing expense to really get the phone ringing, to get the trucks running, to keep things purring in the right direction. And in your workbooks there, I've got a worksheet that helps you figure out how much to hit your goal, how much you should spend in marketing, and then where we should spend those dollars. We'll talk about that in a minute. But oftentimes we need to spend more. And as you go into 2024 and you think about that goal that you set for yourself, how much do you need to spend? How much should be invested in marketing and on the various different channels that you need to advertise in? Number two, actually, let's go there now. Actually, since we're on this topic, less than 5%, stay static, 6 to 15% moderate growth, 15% reinvested in marketing, aggressive growth. And so what I'm going to do is I want you guys all to pull up the worksheet here. I'm going to share my screen so you can see it. And let's spend a couple minutes really thinking out how much we're going to invest in marketing. And yes, I know we want to invest it and get a return on investment. It has to be well spent. But like I said, a lot of times we're not spending enough. So if you could in the comments for me, give me a yes if you know where to find this worksheet. If you don't, yeah, you can go straight there. Amber knows where it is. Fantastic. I want to make sure you're tracking along with me here. Okay, so I feel like you guys know where I'm at. Well, we're here in this worksheet. Christian just dropped the link. And I want you to go over to the budget allocations tab. And here in the budget allocations tab, we're looking at the new year, 2024. We know what our goal is. And the example we used earlier, it was 5 million. Let me know, one of you guys in comments that are still paying attention, that are still tracking along with me. What's the goal going into 2024? How much revenue are we shooting for? Let me know that in the comments. And hopefully you're seeing my screen. 3.2 says Matt, first up. Perfect. So I'm going to bring this to 3.2. Justin's going for 12 million this year. Amazing. Okay. The next question is, how aggressively are you looking to reinvest in your marketing? Again, knowing that less than 5% remains static, 6 to 12%, 15% moderate growth, 15% is aggressive. What's the number for you? How much are you going to put back in? 10%, 15%? Matt's going to go 10%. Perfect. Justin's going to do 12. All right, I'm going to put in, Luke's going 15. I'm going to put in 12 as the example here. So if we're looking at 10 to 12 to 15% reinvested, in this case, to get to 3.2, we're going to be looking at $385,000 that we can invest in marketing. Now, when I say invest, I know sometimes a bigger number scares us. It's like, oh, I'm putting money out, but I'm not going to get it back. The purpose of an investment is you're spending, whatever that number is, $1, and you're getting 3, 5, 10 times in return. And so we gotta invest wisely, right? But we're going to invest 12% of our revenues back into marketing, which means we've got $384,000 to spend, which means we've got $32,000 a month that we need to deploy, right? And whether that's through online marketing, we've talked a lot about online marketing here today, to SEO, pay-per-click, social media, repeat and referral business. That's what we've got to spend. Everybody put in the comments, what's your number? Like what's, based on the goal that you've set, how much are we needing to spend in marketing going into 2024? Remember, this is an exercise. I'm trying to come back to like you guys doing the work with me and me not just talking the whole time. All right, Dan's got 220 to put back into marketing. Jerry, 200K. Awesome. Eric, 150K. Fantastic. Okay, so we know kind of what we need to spend in order to get the growth that we're after. What I want to make sure we're clear on is marketing isn't just online. Like marketing isn't just your website. It isn't just SEO. It isn't just pay-per-click. There's offline, which would be things like B&I meetings, direct mail, welcome wagons, stuff like that. And then there's repeat and referral, right? And your best business, your lowest cost business is your past customer using you again. It's your past customer signing up for that plan and getting on a monthly maintenance and getting you back in the home and again and again. And so when you think about that total marketing budget that you have for the year, you need to carve that out. Some of it should be online. I don't encourage all of it, right? It would be, it wouldn't be wise to have all your marketing just in online. Now, should a majority of it be online? Yes, right? That's where most of your customers are looking today when they need your services. But I want you to think about how you allocate this. And again, depending upon your size, depending upon your goals, it could shift. But I think a 70-20-10 split works pretty well, or an 80-10-10 works pretty well as well. So just put in there what you want to allocate. I'm going to put 70-20-10. And this will help you figure out how much should be going to online, which would be your website, your SEO, your pay-per-click, your paid services, all of those different things. How much should go to offline, which is billboards, which is direct mail to your customers and things like that. And then what are you going to do for repeat and referral? And I think this is probably the most underutilized budget opportunity that we should all be doing. Like if somebody does a large transaction with you and you're not sending them a thank you gift, that's an opportunity, right? If you don't have a monthly newsletter going back to your customers in email and in physical, that's a missed opportunity because we want to remain top of mind. We want them to use us again. We want them to refer us to others. So give me a yes if this is helpful, just to kind of see how this could break out and kind of how we could say, all right, this is how much I need to spend. This is how much needs to go to online. This is how much needs to go to offline. This is how much needs to go to repeat and referral. Okay, cool. I got yes, yes, extremely, says Justin. Fantastic. And so that kind of gives you a monthly budget. And what I would suggest is you run this through a filter like this, and this gives you the high level potential. And then you go in and say, you know what, maybe we know in December and November, that's a big season for it. Maybe we spend more there. We spend a little bit less in April and May, right? You can go in and modify this, but this gives you a benchmark to shoot for throughout the course of the year. And then you could break it down and say, okay, if we've got that amount to spend on online, whatever that amount is, if you kind of scroll down the sheet, how much do you want going towards SEO, right? We know that the average cost per lead is best at the SEO. And then how much should we have towards paid search? And then how much should we have towards display and remarketing? Don't forget about display and remarketing. Regardless of how good your SEO is or how much you're spending on pay-per-click, you should absolutely be showing up again and again and again for those customers and prospects where they're seeing you in their feed. And we do that through remarketing, which is just dropping a pixel. And then we've got banner ads and we've got display ads, and they're seeing us. And we know that if they see us again and again, they're more likely to actually convert with us versus the competition. And they're actually more likely to use this again in the future, right? This isn't just for the immediate conversion. It's for building that brand awareness so that one-time customer turns into a repeat customer and is more likely to refer you when they hear a friend ask. Let's see. Van says, are you able to share best practices for your clients on top-level plumbing, HVAC, electrical, to see industry spend on SEO, pay-per-click, LSA, display? We don't even know what we don't know. Yeah, so again, this really depends, depending upon, like in a case like this, let's just say we're going for 3.2 and we got 12% to spend. I think a 70-20-10 makes sense. It works pretty good. SEO-wise, you might not need to spend this much on SEO, right? Maybe like you've got the foundation, you're building links, you're building citations, you got consistency. In this case, you could probably say, you know what, let's just say we need to spend 25% or maybe even 20% here on SEO, which would be a large SEO budget, for this particular case, $4,800. That's content management fees, things like that. And then PPC LSA, we could get a little bit more aggressive, right? Because we could say, let's just say 7% there. So what does that leave us with? 100 minus 7 minus 20, 73% back into paid ads. So let's open up that LSA budget, right? Let's make sure we're capitalizing on every Google guaranteed lead we can get. And then the rest of it, let's put it into Google ads. Let's put it into paid ad services. Let's make sure we get the automation to follow up with all of those leads that we're generating so that we can maximize our outcomes and maximize the results. So in this scenario, we'd say like $4,500 per month, or maybe a little bit, $4,000 a month in SEO. We'd say $16K in paid search. And when I say PPC, some of that's in Google ads, some of it's in local service ads, some of it's in other things like that. And then $1,500 a month, a really hardy budget where your customers, your prospects are seeing you in display ads everywhere. They feel like you're omnipresent, but you're really just marketing to that universe of people that already know you at some level. Give me a 1 if you're tracking along with me still. I know I kind of went down a deep rabbit hole, but this is the point, right? The point is to build a budget and to build the plan and kind of figure out how to diversify where we're spending these dollars to hit those goals and hit that outcome. Awesome. I'm seeing some 1s, so that makes me feel good. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. So that's the worksheet here on how much we need to spend. I think we're all clear now, having plugged these numbers in, probably need to spend a little bit more, right? We probably need to expand that budget a little bit. We need to make sure that we are spending those dollars wisely. Now, the next thing we need to know is what the average cost per lead is, right? What I don't want to encourage you guys is just spend money and, who knows, like you're spending $1,000 to generate a drain cleaning job, right? That only generates $250, $300. That's a problem, right? You need to make sure the average cost per lead makes financial sense, and you can either recoup the investment right away on the first job, or you're going to recoup that investment over the lifetime value of the customer. But you need to have a tight pulse on this number. What is your average cost per lead for plumbing, for HVAC, for drain cleaning, for water heaters, and everything in between? And so in your worksheet there, I'm going to go back to it. I have some benchmarks, and you need to know what your numbers are, but this also gives you an idea kind of across the spectrum what we're seeing as some of the averages. So cost per lead by source, PPC for plumbing, 65, 125 for HVAC, 55 for electrical. LSA, a little bit less. And I like LSA. That's why I say local service ads, Google Home Services, you want to double down on this. You want to open up that budget. You're probably not going to be able to spend the whole budget. There's very specific things you need to do from an LSA management perspective, from a campaign structure perspective to spend those dollars. But your average cost per lead is 54, 56, and 28 respectively. And then repeat and referral depends, right? Depends on how many clients you have, depends on how well liked you are. But a blended average, if you kind of blended this out, $41 per lead on plumbing, that includes your organic stuff, it includes your paid stuff, 62 on HVAC, 29 on electrical. You want to know that number, right? You need to be tracking this information. Whoever you're working with from a marketing perspective needs to help you track these numbers. And then industry averages, you guys already threw out your transaction values, but you always be thinking about how do we increase the average transaction value? How do we make sure more and more of these customers sign up on a performance plan where we're able to come out multiple times per year? So we got to know what that average cost per lead is. And our tracking that we provide to our clients in our dashboard, we really can show you how much did you spend? $12,000, right? That's how much we spent on SEO, on pay-per-click, on local service ads. That's our total spend. How many leads did we generate on total? That includes our calls, our web submissions, our chats, right? 1,119. What's our average cost per lead across the spectrum? $10.85, right? If that's the average cost per lead, we can continue to expand. We can continue to expand the budget to hit those targets and to hit the goals that we've set for ourselves. And then we want to know where did the leads come from? 210 from organic, 135 from pay-per-click, 409 from Google Maps, 366 web forms, and web chats on the website. More and more of your conversions are going to come from people actually chatting and engaging with two-way text messaging or scheduling directly on there. So you need to know that. And then ultimately, we got to make sure we're tracking the return on investment, right? Going into 2024, we don't want to be guessing, right? We don't want to just say, hey, Josh told me I need to spend 350 grand this year, so let's spend 350 grand, right? You need to know, how are we getting that money back? How quickly is that money coming back to us? And what channels are actually generating the results? What channels are actually generating revenue? Because you can't pay the bills with leads, right? What you pay the bills with are with dispatch jobs that turn into revenue for your organization. And so the way we've structured our reporting for you guys and the way that we show this is currently a projected ROI. So we can show you if your average transaction value is $450 and your average close ratio is 75%, then for that 951 leads, we should have generated $272,000 in revenue, which is a 22-time return on investment, right? We can say, okay, based on that, we can continue to grow, we can continue to scale. Going into 2024, what I'm really excited about, and a lot of you guys as clients have already started to do this with us, is actual ROI insights, where we're keying into your dispatch system, where we're showing you, here's the actual revenue that was generated from the channel. And there's a famous quote, which I'm sure all of you have read, half my advertising is wasted. The trouble is I don't know which half, right? It's like, hey, Josh told me I got 350, I spent 350. Some of it's working, some of it's not. And what we want to do is going into 2024 is be more intelligent with our decisions, right? And that's where our ROI Insights report comes into play. For clients, this is a premium option that we can add for you to give you much better insights on the spend. If you're not a client, you want to look into a reporting mechanism like this. So if you're using Service Titan or you're using House Call Pro or you're using Field Edge, we can now integrate with these platforms. And so we can see how much we spent, and it's no longer a projection. It's not like, okay, I think you generated 220K. We can know for a fact that your return on ad spend was 3,192%. And the reason we can do that is because it matches the lead that was generated, right, that we generated from the online marketing to the actual customer in your dispatch system and the revenue that was generated. And so this ROI Insights reporting is super exciting. I think you should all be thinking about this going into 2024. The better you understand your average cost per lead, which of the different channels is actually performing, the more you can double down and really make sure you're getting the results that you're after. And so that's actual generated 323,000 in revenue. We're not guessing. We know that that's how much was generated with ROI Insights reports. That's that piece. So optimizing results, spend more, right? Or figure out how much you need to spend, know the average cost per lead, and then really track that return on investment. Going to 2024, building that plan, know how much you're spending, know what the return on investment is so you can confidently say, hey, look, I can grow this. I can really spend more across the spectrum. So as it comes to your optimizing of results, let's give yourself a rating. Total spend. Green, spending enough. Know that that's enough money to hit your target. Yellow, maybe not. Red, definitely not spending enough. Average cost per lead. Do you know what the average cost per lead is? Are you tracking that? That may be a big opportunity. And then ROI. Do you have some kind of sync technology where you can see what was spent and what was actually returned? Take a minute here. Really, if you're gonna hit the goals in 2024, you want to really think about how you're optimizing your results. So let me know in the comments, what's the opportunity? Red, red, yellow. All right. So red, red, yellow. Awesome. Dan Bernard, yellow, yellow, red. Excellent. Good. And I appreciate you guys typing in because it helps me know that you're tracking along and you're kind of seeing some opportunity from what we're doing. So the next thing we want to do is we want to plan the focus. And I know I'm about an hour and 30 minutes in. I want to be respectful of everybody's time. But there is another tab within your worksheet that helps you think about, if you think about January, February, March, April, how should you be shifting the focus in terms of your SEO strategy, your pay-per-click strategy, the emails that you might send out to your customer base, what you might be posting on social media to re-engage customers, special offers and incentives that you can run. Spend some time with this, right? The more you can communicate to your team, to whoever it is that's doing your marketing, or maybe if you're a client of ours, we can get on the same page and work through this together. The more we can make the necessary adjustments as the seasons change relative to your market. The more we can focus on things that are maybe higher transaction during the times of the year that make the most sense. And so a really good example of getting this dialed in, a client we work with, Paul the plumber, you can see here $12,000 spend, 1,550 leads generated, average of $77.75. They've been able to grow from 6 trucks in 2018 to 16 trucks, over $10 million in revenue this past year. And they've got confidence in sustained growth. And I think this is a great example of the full spectrum, right? Is that if we can drive leads with the right channels, we can maximize conversion with the website, with the reputation, with automation, and then we can really optimize our results, spend enough, manage the metrics, and make sure we're getting return on investment, we can get accelerated growth. And that's what I want for everybody on today's call. And so thank you guys for sticking around. Thanks for being part of this. If you're clients, we appreciate your business. We're excited about rolling out some of these new technologies with you in 2024. If you're here and you're not working with us and you'd like the opportunity to kind of have us do a one-to-one and review your current plan and see what it would look like to hire our services and let us run with this for you in 2024, we would love the opportunity to chat. Best way to do that is to go to plumberseo.net/schedule. That's plumberseo.net/schedule. And so in wrap up, what we covered, and I feel like we hit all of the high points here. Correct me if I'm wrong, but we set clear goals and targets for the year. That's where we started. We kind of said, okay, what's the revenue? So if that's the case, how many jobs do we need? And if that's the case, how many leads do we need to generate in order to hit that target? Give me a 1 if you feel like we've got clear targets, like this is dialed in. We've really kind of hit all of the high points on this. Number 2 is we got to realign KPIs and tracking to achieve outcomes, right? That was breaking it down by goals. We mapped out the plan. So we walked through the accelerated growth model. We looked at the budget. We looked at the channels, online, offline, SEO, pay-per-click, and we looked at some of the important trends with automation coming into play, with online booking coming into play, with two-way text messaging being super important going into the new year. And I believe we've set you up for success going into 2024 and beyond. So guys, thank you so much for your rapt attention. Excited about this new year, excited about what we're going to accomplish together. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. If you'd like to schedule a free online marketing review, you can do that at plumberseo.net/schedule. Again, that's complimentary. We'll spend some time, we'll review your website, we'll review your paid search, show you where we think there's room for improvement. Let's see. Dan says awesome information. Luke says thanks. Zach says awesome info. Thank you. Thank you guys. Thanks for being on here. Any questions, let me know. Otherwise, I'll let you guys go, and I'll make sure you get access to all the links and the resources from today's session. And thanks, everybody. Great to see you, Dan. Thanks for being on here.